Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Let's keep week 15 going with today's Third Age Thursday. That's our time to revisit those familiar and sometimes not so familiar stories from the Third Age. Now, last week we caught up with the hobbits and Gandalf as they arrived at Bree and began a chat with our old friend Barliman. We're going to stay in Bree tonight, right up through some very good news for Sam. "Well, no one troubled us," said Pippin, "and we came along slowly and kept no watch. We thought we'd left all trouble behind us." "Oh, that you haven't, master, more's the pity," said Butterbur. "But it's no wonder they left you alone. They wouldn't go for armed folk with swords and helmets and shields and all. Make them think twice, that would. I must say it put me aback a bit when I saw you." Then the hobbits suddenly realized that people had looked at them with amazement, not out of surprise at their return, so much as in wonder at their gear. They themselves had become so used to warfare and to riding in well-arrayed companies that they had quite forgotten that the bright mail peeping from under their cloaks, and the helms of Gondor and the Mark, and the fair devices on their shields would seem outlandish in their own country. And Gandalf, too, was now riding on his tall gray horse, all clad in white, with a great mantle of blue and silver over all, and the long sword glamdring at his side. Gandalf laughed. Well, well, he said, "if they're afraid of just 5 of us, then we have met worse enemies on our travels. But at any rate, they will give you peace at night while we stay." "How long will that be?" said Butterbur. "I'll not deny we should be glad to have you about for a bit. You see, we're not used to such troubles, and the rangers have all gone away, folk tell me. I don't think we've rightly understood till now what they did for us, for there's been worse than robbers about. Wolves were howling around the fences last winter, and there's dark shapes in the woods, dreadful things that makes the blood run cold to think of. It's been very disturbing, if you understand me." "I expect it has," said Gandalf. "Nearly all lands have been disturbed these days. Very disturbed. But cheer up, Barliman. You've been on the edge of very great troubles, and I am only glad to hear that you've not been deeper in. But better times are coming. Maybe better than any you remember. The Rangers have returned. We came back with them. And there is a king again, Barliman. He will soon be turning his mind this way. Then the Greenway will be opened again, and his messengers will come north, and there will be comings and goings, and the evil things will be driven out of the wastelands. Indeed, the waste in time will be waste no longer, and there will be people and fields where once there was wilderness." Mr. Butterbur shook his head. "If there's a few decent, respectable folk on the roads, that won't do no harm," he said. "But we don't want no more rabble and ruffians, and we don't want no outsiders at Bree, nor near Bree at all. We want to be let alone. I don't want a whole crowd of strangers camping here and settling there and tearing up the wild country." "You will be let alone, Barliman," said Gandalf. "There is room enough for realms between Isen and Greyflood, or along the shorelines south of the Brandywine, without anyone living within many days' ride of Bree. And many folk used to dwell away north, 100 miles or more from here, at the far end of the Greenway, on the North Downs, or by Lake Evandene." "Up away by Deadman's Dyke," said Butterbur, looking even more dubious. "That's haunted land, they say. None but a robber would go there." "The Rangers go there," said Gandalf. "Deadman's Dyke, you say? So it has been called for long years. But its right name, Barliman, is Fornost Erain, Norbury of the Kings, and the king will come there again one day, and then you'll have some fair folk riding through." "Well, that sounds more hopeful, I'll allow," said Butterbur. "And it will be good for business, no doubt, so long as he lets Bree alone." "He will," said Gandalf. "He knows it and loves it." "Does he now?" said Butterbur, looking puzzled. "Oh, I'm sure I don't know why he should, sitting in his big chair up in his great castle, hundreds of miles away, and drinking wine out of a golden cup, I shouldn't wonder. What's the pony to him or mugs of beer? Not but what my beer's good, Gandalf. It's been uncommon good since you came in the autumn of last year and put a good word on it. That's been a comfort in trouble, I will say." "Ah," said Sam, "but he says your beer is always good." "He says?" "Of course he does. He's Strider, the chief of the Rangers. Haven't you got that into your head yet?" It went in at last, and Butterbur's face was a study in wonder. The eyes in his broad face grew round, and his mouth opened wide, and he gasped. "Strider?" he exclaimed when he got back his breath. "Him with a crown and all in a golden cup? Well, what are we coming to?" "Better times for Bree, at any rate," said Gandalf. I hope so, I'm sure, said Butterbur. Well, this has been the nicest chat I've had in a month of Mondays, and I'll not deny that I'll sleep easier tonight and with a lighter heart. You've given me a powerful lot to think over, but I'll put that off until tomorrow. I'm for bed, and I've no doubt you'll be glad of your beds too. Hey, Nob, he called, going to the door. Nob, you slow coach. Nob, he said to himself, slapping his forehead. Now what does that remind me of? Not another letter you've forgotten, I hope, Mr. Butterbur, said Mary. Now, Mr. Brandybuck, don't go reminding me of that. But there, you've broken my thought. Now, where was I? Nob. Stables. Ah, that was it. I've something that belongs to you. If you recollect Bill Fernie and the horse thieving, his pony as you bought, well, it's here. Come back all of itself, it did. Where it had been to, you know better than me. It was as shaggy as an old dog and as lean as a clothes rail. But it was alive. Nobs looked after it. What? My Bill? Said Sam. Well, I was born lucky, whatever my gaffer may say. There's another wish come true. Where is he? Sam would not go to bed until he had visited Bill in his stable. There are some really great moments here. And I apologize for the way I read Butterbur. I still can't quite get his voice down, but there are still some really great moments here. I love their realization that with their gear and their weaponry, they present a real threat to just about anybody they could encounter in this part of Middle-earth, as they'll find out next chapter. Then there's the reminder of the return of the king and just how shocked Barliman is to learn that it was old Strider himself. Then there's that sort of NIMBY parochialism of the folks here, right? Not in my backyard. Twice, he makes it clear Bree wants to be left alone. And then there's the reminder of the blessing that Gandalf put on Barliman's brew. We read about it after the fact when Gandalf retells the story at the Council of Elrond. Back then, we read that Barliman had told Gandalf that Strider had got at the hobbits, and that made Gandalf quite pleased. Ass, fool, thrice worthy and beloved Barliman, said I. It's the best news I've had since midsummer. It's worth a gold piece at the least. May your beer be laid under an enchantment of surpassing excellence for 7 years, said I. Then there's Mary's dig at Barliman about the old letter. And of course, the surprise return of Bill, who was very much destined to be a snack for the Watcher in the Water as the company entered Moria. Thank you for joining me today for Third Age Thursday. Now, please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, a bonus weekly episode, and a lot more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times as I welcome another special guest for Fandom Friday. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Please follow or subscribe in your podcast apps and follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.